In this exciting video, you're gonna take 3D assets and bring them into Fortnite to make really cool things like this. Now, if you're someone who's bought or found a cool 3D object and you've brought it into UEFN and it turned out all white and empty and there's no textures and it looks terrible and you just want to scream because you just wanted to drag it into the app and it just was supposed to work and it didn't work, I'm gonna help you. In this video, you're gonna learn about materials in UEFN. You're gonna learn how to make an emissive color, normal maps, ambient occlusion maps, and things like that. And a few other things along the way. First things first, I'm gonna create a brand new project. You don't have to because we're just gonna drag and drop some things, but I'm gonna keep it clean. So I'm going to my island templates and blank. I'm gonna call this Import Me Now. That's a terrible name, just for importing assets and things like that. Okay, now that we're here, it's important to understand where you can find 3D objects. So Sketchfab, this is owned by Epic Games. And I'm gonna give you a little secret here. You're gonna scroll down to the bottom, okay? And there's a link here that says free 3D models, right? Super cool. And look at all of this cool stuff. You can pick things from here. That's what we're gonna do in just a moment. But I did want to show you also the Unreal Engine Marketplace. Yeah, a lot of these aren't free, but there are free objects in there as well too. If you didn't know that, you can go to free Epic Games content, and they've got a whole bunch of things, including characters, animations, levels, and things like that. And the reason I bring this up is because most of the Epic Games Marketplace items, you just click a button and all the materials and everything are already applied. You don't have to manually connect it like we're going to do in this video here. So just so you know, you can find stuff there and it's usually out of the box ready, that one-click drag if you want that. So Sketchfab is awesome. One more thing I do want to show you in case you don't know about it is over here in the Unreal Editor, you can go to Window and Fab. Epic Games announced that Sketchfab and their other things that they own and more in the future are all gonna come here into this portal here, okay? They don't have all of the stuff available, but you can also grab objects from here. They've got a construction side. You can grab any of these things for this video or for yourself. You just gotta know about this, okay? Goodbye Fab, and here we go. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to Sketchfab and over to the weapons and military, just because weapons are cool. And, we're gonna skip that one. And we're gonna come down here and we've got some elemental swords, okay? This is what we're gonna be working with today. You can find it here on the Sketchfab. And it's a Creative Commons license, so you can use it. Art credit goes to Kieran21 on Twitter. So if you use this, make sure you tag Kieran21 that you used it in your game. We're just gonna be using it here for this video. And look at all of these very pretty swords. Oh, I can rotate them and look how cool they are. Glowing magma. We got a blue glowing crystal ice sword. We've got a meteor sword, which couldn't actually cut anyone. It'd be like blunt force trauma there. But anyway, we've got some really cool swords here. So what I want you to do is download this. So you can just click the download 3D model. And if this is not here at the time of watching the video, just grab any asset that you want. Now, we're gonna use FBX. That's the primary format that's supported in the Unreal Engine in UEFN. So I'm gonna click download. It's here in my folder, and I'm just gonna right click this, extract all, extract, and here's my stuff. So we've got the source, which is the FBX. Notice how they're all in the same FBX. Like whoever created this didn't separate them, which I think is kind of weird and annoying, but that's okay. We'll work with that. And then we've got all the textures. Oh no, I know you're getting anxiety looking at this. Look at all this really weird stuff. We're gonna go over that in just a minute. So what we're going to do is in our Unreal Editor, I'm gonna create here at the top of my project a new folder, and we're gonna call this assets. And I always do this in my projects because these folders get messy. And what I'm also going to do is create a new folder, and we're gonna call this swords, because this will get messy too. Imagine if you had 100 objects in here, okay? Swords. So what I'm gonna do with that selected is I'm gonna go to my elemental swords folder we just downloaded. go into the source folder here and grab my FBX. That's the most important thing, is the FBX file. We're gonna drag it in here like so. And we've got some options on here. We're gonna click import all. And I'm gonna close out of this log here. Let's just ignore the warnings. Nothing ever wrong happened with that. And it was smart enough to give us some materials for each sword. So when we imported it, it detected that we needed a new material for each of these swords. But look, just like we expected, they're all empty and white and just not doing a whole lot of anything. So what I'm gonna do is in my swords folder, I'm gonna right click and do another folder. I know, so many folders. Go as textures, because there's a lot of textures, okay? With that folder selected, let's go back to our download, go back to our textures, and I'm gonna select all of these, Control A. I'm just gonna drag them all in. It'll take a moment to import, like so. There we go. Okay, so that's in, great. Now, what I wanna do is just work with the lava sword. So let's go back to our swords here, and let's find our lava sword. And I noticed that they actually didn't call it lava sword here. They must have forgot to name it. So I'm just gonna drag this one, poly surface 1241. And I don't see it. Oh, there it is. So that's a pretty big sword. We could rescale the units. We're not gonna do that right now. It's not a big deal. But you know what's really annoying? Look at this pivot point. It's like way out here. That's gonna be really annoying to move. How about we fix that first? So what we're gonna do is hold down Alt and middle mouse click. Alt and middle mouse click, drag until you're right here in the sword. Now, I don't want it there either, because our sword is really just like a floating object. It's gonna spin, and this might be the pivot if we were gonna use it as a weapon, but we really can't do that with Unreal Editor just yet for Fortnite. So I'm gonna Alt drag again with the middle mouse button clicked, and just put it in the middle. Right click it and go to pivot, set as pivot offset, like so. Pretty cool, right? Excellent. So there's our sword. That's probably what you're used to seeing if you've ever done this before. How do we make this mo better? Well, we've got a lava sword material. Ooh, it's already applied. It did that for us. Now, if it wasn't applied, if it did not bring in any materials at all, which it should have, you can right click and create a material and then simply drag that material onto your object, like so. Ours created a material. Most of the time it will. So I'm gonna double click this material. And if you've ever been here, yes, it's one thing to make you cry as well too. There's so many things you can do in here. And yeah, look at it, it's just like creamy, pasty white. What we need is some life in this thing here, right? So I'm gonna go into my textures. Our lava textures in here, I can see them. So we're looking for the lava sword. Now look at this. Wait a minute, lava. In fact, let's just type in the word lava to filter. Okay, base material, emissive, metallic, AO, DirectX, normal, roughness. What is all of this stuff? Well, let me help you out with that. So the base color, this is what's going to just give it its standard look. And we'll do it one at a time so we can see how things are. So what I'm going to do is bring this feller down a little bit. I'm gonna drag this base color into the material editor, and it's gonna create a texture sample. Okay, this texture has already been mapped to every single polygon and triangle on this sword. So we will not have to do any painting or anything. It should just magically work. So this parameter here, I'm going to delete it. And then I'm gonna grab the RGB, red, green, blue, basically the color, the texture, and I'm gonna connect it to base color and click apply. Ooh, okay, making progress. Look at that, we've got some purples, but that surely isn't glowing, right? That doesn't make any sense. Why is my sword not glowing? Well, it's because we have to do some more work, because this does not look like the picture that we were sold to on the free asset download. But look here, we've got what's called an emissive material, like as if it can emit, like the sun emits energy. So I'm gonna drag this into the material editor also, like so. Okay, Now, emissive, that's real interesting. If we look over here, we do have an emissive color. Well, why don't I just drag it into that? Let's take a look here. Apply. Okay, so it's glowing. It's glowing. I think we can do it a little bit better. It's not really glowing, it's just yellow. So what I want to do is I'm going to click Alt and click that little line to delete it. Alt click, it's gone. Now what I want to do is right click and type in constant, and I'm going to right click again and type in multiply, because I really want this to like really glow like hot lava, like magical sword, okay? So what I'm going to do is take these two different values here, my texture and a number, just a number I put in, and we're going to multiply it to make it really bright. So I'm going to take the RGB, and I'm going to take this value here, and I don't know what I'm going to put this to. I'm going to just say 10 for now. I don't know how bright it's going to make it. And now with my multiply on here and the value of 10, I'm going to take this multiply, the output, and put it into emissive color and click apply. Ooh, look at that. It is really glowing. How cool is that? And I mean, we could take this even further later. We're not going to, but we could even add a Niagara like lava effect component to the sword, so lava like drips from the sword. We could do that. You could do that. I'm not going to do that. And so I think it may be a little too bright. 8, apply. Okay, that is looking good. That's looking really good. It is so bright that I can't see the other things I'm going to do. So I'm going to take it off just for a second, alt click that line and put the other ones on first so I can just make sure I can see that they're having some kind of effect. So let's do the metallic material. Now, in Unreal Engine, UEFN, you can specify how metallic something is. You know, how shiny it is. Metal, rock is less metallic, even though metal is kind of rock. But it's not going to be as shiny. So ours is not going to have a lot of metallic properties. Notice here that it's all black. That means mostly not metallic, with a few little sparkles here. Okay, you can see those few little sparkles. The black means no metal on there. The white means give it a little bit of sparkly metalish. How metally is it, for lack of better phrase? And here it is, metallic. So I'm going to take this RGB of our metal. Remember, the creator of this weapon created all these for us, all the textures. We're just, linking it all back together. If we were working in the Unity engine, we'd have to do some different things for that game engine too. RGB, metallic, and apply. So I honestly can't tell the difference, but I promise you it did something based on the data that's in here. Okay, so we've got our metallic in here. AO, ambient occlusion. This is shadows. Shadows baked into your 3D object, okay? What kind of shadows do we want our object to have? Let me change the time of day to like some little more bright. There we go. All right, so what kind of shadows on the object baked in? If a rock was casting shadow on itself, that's always going to be there. What do we want baked in? Well, the white and the black data on here is the shadow. They went on like Photoshop or something, they colored it in, and they gave it shadows. And we're going to bake those shadows into the ambient occlusion. Will it appear on here? I don't know, but let's see how prominent the artist made it. Ambient occlusion, apply. So it did add some little shadows here, I can tell. See these little lines, these dark edges and shadows. See this little dark edge right there? It did add some shadow on here. Let's see if I take it off, if I can see it. Yes, there it goes, it disappeared. Look very carefully, okay? Look very carefully. Apply, shadows came back, all right? It's subtle, but it makes it look great. So that's ambient occlusion, AO. Next, the normal map. Now, what normal maps are, and there's not very many on this one, normal maps are like simulated depth, like as if you were to model in like bumps and things like that, but without actually having to model them with polygons. You can just do this optical illusion where you do a normal map to show where the bumps should be. And they used to do that a lot in the older games that couldn't perform really well because you want bricks to stick out, but you didn't want to actually design the bricks piece by piece. You want it to be a flat plane, but still have them stick out. You would use a normal map. So I'm going to plug this in. We may not see anything at all because it looks very subtle. So we're gonna take this RGB, plug it into the normal, look really closely, and apply. I don't know, but we did it. We did it. You'll wanna do that too on yours, okay? So blue, it's typically blue like this. Blue goes over here to normal. Lastly, roughness, okay? Roughness is the roughness, like literally, like how smooth or rough a surface is, right? Plastic, okay? Plastic would have like no roughness. It would be very smooth. Stone is gonna have a lot. As you can see here, we've got a lot of roughness, and that's just gonna help with the lighting and how the weapon is perceived as it's being played with in the game. So we're gonna take this roughness, the RGB, and look, there's a roughness parameter here. Just drag that on over, and I'm gonna click apply and see if I can see it. A little bit, you can see a little bit. It's like stone, but not super pronounced. Let me just give you a quick example. If I right click here, and we just put in a parameter on here, okay, vector parameter. And if I go into this, and let's turn my alpha all the way up, let's make this white, okay, and then let's take off our roughness, and just drag the white into the roughness. Okay, look what this is going on here. No shininess at all, right? It's very, very just bland. I don't want to say bland. It's just very not shiny. it's rougher. It's more rough. So the white means the more rough it is. Let's change this to black. Okay, and look how shiny that is. You see that little glisten? It's like reflecting. So shiny. Okay, so the blacker it is, the shinier it is, the less rough it is, okay? And there's similar things with specular and other features on here as well too. Like you could turn this into a plastic sword. You could take this artist's original textures and make this into a plastic sword if you want it, purely through materials. That's pretty cool, huh? I'm gonna delete that though. We're trying to preserve the original vision, so roughness. All right, it's as rough as it is and not as rough as it not is. Yeah. All right, that looks pretty good to me. Now that I feel good that we've gotten all of the stuff in here that we need. Metallic, yes. Do we have a metallic on here? We do. Excellent. Yeah, you can make that way more metal if you wanted as well too. I guess the last thing to do here is just to reconnect our emissive. So our multiply emissive and apply. Oh, look at that flaming sword. It's so cool. Excellent. So I'm gonna close out of this here. Okay, literally that's it. We just did it. We just imported this really cool sword, added all of the textures, and you can do this with anything at all. Say any object, okay? And now we can, rotate it around like so. I can change it back to dark so we can, see that beautiful glow on there. How excellent is that? Put it close to the ground. You're like, wait, what, Mark? It actually makes the ground glow too? Yeah, it's because it's a lava sword. It's emissive. And like I said, you could add effects to that on here. How cool is that? But there's one more thing we need to do. You can't use this like this. We got to do something else. We need to turn it into a prop, okay? Got to turn this thing into a prop. So here in my assets, what I'm going to do, actually I probably wouldn't put it in here. What I would actually put it in is a new folder here called props. And then in my props folder, I will right click, blueprint class. And then what I'm going to do is call it a building prop. We'll call this one lava sword, and F2 if you want to rename it with the keystroke. Lava sword. Okay, so we've got it here. Now, with our lava sword blueprint, okay, this is how you create your own props. You click it, double click it. It's going to open up the blueprint editor here for our lava sword, and you're going to see that there's a static mesh component already on top of it here. So what we can do now is go into our swords, and this one right here, the one that says static mesh that we put the color on, just take that little fella and drag it right there into the static mesh. Do we want to enable gravity on this? I'm going to turn that off because, we want to control that, and it's going to be a floating sword, Anyway, that's probably good for now. You can play with all of these components on here. Cast shadow, yes. And I'm going to click compile and save. The reason why we want to turn this into a prop is so we can access it with code and do things with it, like rotate it or flip it or anything else. And so if I go back to my props folder, there it is. So I'm going to delete the one that's on the ground, and I'm going to drag in the prop. There it is. Okay. And again, why is this over here? It's because that's what the artist did. There was a row of swords. They should have separated all of the swords. They got a little bit lazy. That's really what happened. What you could do to fix this is take the FBX file and open it like in Maya or 3D Studio Max. I'm gonna hold Alt here, and then you'd have to adjust that. That's out of the scope of this lesson here. And I'm gonna right click and go to Pivot, Set as Pivot Offset, so it stays that way. I'm pressing W for the Move tool, E for rotation. Let's rotate this little guy. And there is our glowing sword. Ooh. And because it's a prop now, we can do different things with it in our code, like, you know, move it and stab it through somebody. Anyway, that's it for this tutorial. Now, if you saw that really cool moving, spinning sword that looks so amazing, and you're wondering, how do I spin things like that in the actual game? I don't cover that here, but I do cover it in this video right here, where you can spin anything that you want. So click that now. My name is Mark Walbeck, and I'll see you next time.